What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Slice. Today I have an amazing guest with us, former two-time Big East Player of the Year, former Arthur Ashe Recipient Award, more importantly, even a better person, the men's assistant coach from the University of Notre Dame, Greg Andrews. Greg, welcome on to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for that incredibly generous intro, man. That was kind.
You know what? I'm sure I missed a lot of accolades, but it was funny because I was like just going back through your career and I was like, wow, top 20 NCAA singles and doubles, second most all time in wins. But I didn't want to give it all because I didn't want you to think like I was stalking you online or something like that.
No, I appreciate it. And I always like to throw in, I'm either second or third. I forget in all-time wins, but my boss is number one. So for my job security, I always like to throw that in there, that head coach Satch is number one in wins for ND.
Isn't it funny how over time you start number one and then you go number two? And I think back at Toledo, when I left Toledo, I think I was third and maybe now I'm sixth. So who knows, in another 10 years, I may not even make the list.
That's exciting though, right? It's that next generation comes in and they just continue to improve and hopefully grow your program. I love being back at my alma mater to coach because I get to hopefully help some guys pass me.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about just your pathway back into tennis, like in some of your roots in terms of where you grew up. And obviously I know, but it'd be good to hear from you, just your quick rundown on yourself.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Kalamazoo area, and I was fortunate to get to practice with you, Chris, and other incredible juniors in that area. From about 2000 to 2010, we lived in Kalamazoo, which was great. Then went to Notre Dame, had an amazing 5 years there. I stuck around, got a graduate degree after I was done with my undergrad. And then I went to the corporate world, went to Deloitte Tax, and it was a wonderful experience. I have nothing bad to say about that, but I will say the tennis world is more exciting than public accounting. And then in 2017, I decided to come back and be the volunteer assistant here at Notre Dame. Yeah. That was such a fun experience, as a young coach to be the volunteer, and I got to hit a lot, learned so much about coaching. And then in 2018, I was able to become the full-time assistant under Coach Satchery, and had an awesome 2 years since then.
Yeah. And what's amazing is one of my buddies, he always has this sign and it says, "Do more what you love." And I love the fact that you went into the corporate world and now you're back with your true passion. And for me, it's all about doing things I'm more passionate about, and that's kind of why I started Toss and Spin. Was, hey, I wanted to provide more content to people out in the marketplace, and I wanted to give them a reason to watch tennis and watch the game grow. And I didn't want to make the next coolest product or work for the best CPG company anymore. I didn't want to do that. It just wasn't fun. And now every day I'm having fun. You know what I mean? And I just like how you had that transition, and it's obviously, I think, knock on wood, if I can stay happy, I'll live long. So that's my plan.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And like you said, you have to be excited about every day and pumped about every day. And when I was kind of making the decision to leave corporate world, I was like, I kind of want to just find something where I can yell and scream because I'm so excited about it every day. And, you get to go to the court and just, let it out and have fun. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Obviously the pandemic has potentially changed the way sports as a whole in totality will look over the next 5 to 7 years. The one thing I look at and I think about you as a coach, what are some of the challenges that the pandemic presents for you as a coach, or even as a player, just living through it?
Yeah, tons of challenges. This pandemic has presented so many challenges to everyone. For coaching specifically, I think a big challenge is continuing to build that connection with the players. We can still get out and hit balls, right? I think it's a safe sport from that perspective. It's often played outside. You're able to remain socially distanced, and that's great. And we can go out and we can still do the X's and O's and hitting the balls. But what we've seen that we're missing this year here at ND is like those fun things that we used to do that aren't as easy to do in this pandemic, right? A silly example is we used to, a lot of times after practice, stay in the tennis center and play video games together. I would always lose, but but it was fun to be together and continue to build that relationship with the guys. And that's where we've had to get creative and continue to reach out in maybe situations that you wouldn't ordinarily reach out. But just texting guys to make sure, hey, everything going okay? It's a stressful time. Is everybody still feeling good about things, feeling good about tennis, school, life, health? Maintaining those connections, as I'm sure like that connection is crucial to coaching. You have to have that with your player in order to guide them on the court. So that's certainly been a big challenge. But again, like it's tennis is fortunate that we can still get out there and play and remain spread out and hopefully not transmit the virus.
Yeah, and you hit on a good point there that I didn't even think about. It's like, to your point, hey, we can still practice and we can still do some of those things, but the off-court connection, what I long for as a college student athlete is that, bonding with teammates and coaches and being on the road.
Right.
And now it's like you're trying to find new ways to just check in on everybody because you can't do what you normally would do. And I do think, to your point, it's a very challenging time just in terms of everything that's going on, and finding new ways to make sure people are okay, I think is not only a good thing to do, but will continue to maintain or continue to be a challenge. So I think it's cool how you guys, continue to check in on the players and everything like that.
Yeah. Team meals is another big one. It's tough to have a team meal these days. And, all of our protocols would not allow 15 people, coaches and players, to sit around a table in close proximity with no masks. So, we've had to get creative, and we're having, team meals on the courts with, a good 10 feet between each guy.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to look for those new ways and continue to try to build those relationships.
And I think too, it's one of those things that it can break a team, but it also can help a team come closer together, maybe like they've never been before, because you're finding new ways to communicate. Maybe you're talking more on the phone, maybe you're doing more Zoom, so it's a little more face to face. It's less texting. It could be, right. So it's from that perspective, I think, I like it. I like it a lot, and I think, conversely, switching over, like some of the advantages or ways you've thought about innovating, as a coach during this time, like what are you looking to do, or what are you trying to do that has paid off? Maybe you've never done it before, and you probably wouldn't have if we hadn't been in a pandemic.
Right. It's a great question. I think, like you said, the communication piece has changed, for everything, not just coaching and things like that, but the use of video is a huge thing that I think is going to continue throughout after the pandemic, both in just like conversations like this, doing it face to face versus just over the phone or text, I think has really helped keep in touch. The summer's a great example. Ordinarily, the players would go home and I'd probably text them every now and then, once a week or so. But now it was like, well, let's get together on Zoom and see each other. And, or if I'm going to call a guy, I'll do it on FaceTime instead. And it almost has shown us that we should be like checking in face to face on a semi-regular basis with the players. And that's something that I think will definitely continue and has been an advantage of this time. And then also from a tennis perspective, the X's and O's, since we haven't been able to see the players in person, during that time in the summer, we've asked them to send us video and done, more video analysis with the players than maybe we have in years past. So that's, again, I think a big advantage. I'm sure there's going to be more that emerge, especially as we get into spring dual season. We'll see kind of what that looks like. It's going to be different and challenging. We're going to have to adjust quickly, but I'm sure that if we have this conversation again in 6 months, there'll be, wow, coming out of dual season, there were big things that we're going to continue doing after COVID. And it's been it's really shown you kind of it's forced us to really.
To your point of just texting guys over the summer, it's like, hey, I'm checking in once a week, and now you're checking in by FaceTime. I mean, it's funny. Right. I make this joke all the time, but I literally will probably FaceTime people more than I actually call them now, because I'm just like, I long to just have human interaction. I'm
Yeah.
a person. So it's always like, hey, let me FaceTime you. I can't tell you the last time I actually called, like literally called my parents. It's more of like,
Right.
my wife's like, why don't you just pick up the phone and call me? I'm like, nah, I'm just going to FaceTime my dad and see what
Yeah.
they're doing, or FaceTime my old teammates or family members, whatever it may be. So I'm not sure if that will be the norm in the future, but it's definitely the norm for me right now. And then in terms of the X's and O's, I mean, to your point again on that forefront, I think video will continue to be very helpful because, I mean, you're not going to necessarily be able to come and as close contact with people. So you're doing more video, sending analysis. And I think there's a whole world of untapped opportunity that I know I didn't necessarily have. I mean, our coach was shooting video with those big camcorders. I don't know if you remember
Right.
those, but that
Of course.
I'm starting to feel old, man. But now like video, I think is going to be a huge thing as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I love how you're as a coach and how the entire staff, you guys are, setting the bar from that perspective as well.
Right. And it's helped introduce, getting coaching across the country, which I don't think was as common prior to the uh, pandemic. Certainly people would do it occasionally, but being able to check in on a player's game from Florida when we're here in South Bend, Indiana, that's been, before it was almost like, oh, well, we'll kind of see him in the fall when he's back on campus. But now it's become much more the norm to do that. And I think that's really cool I feel less connected to the people who are in my immediate area, but more connected these days to the people who are further away from me, which is, pros and cons, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. One more good question, and it may lead to a couple questions, but one of the things I always thought about and thinking about now is, when you look at a team, and especially with so much uncertainty, like goal setting, as a coach, how do you approach almost like goal setting in a pandemic, just knowing
Yeah.
that things can change? I mean, every day I kid you not, I take it one day at a time because I'm like, I plan on doing this tomorrow. However, I'm not sure what's going to happen. So what are your thoughts
Yeah.
there?
That is a fantastic question, and something that, as we kind of wrap up our fall semester, we're talking to our players about a lot. So very timely. The resounding theme coming out of our conversations with our players is that they understand the uncertainty, and I think what that has led to is a focus on the team, which I think is great. In an ordinary year in college tennis, there's a lot of guys have individual goals because we have the fall semester where we play, all our individual tournaments, regionals, All-American, all that good stuff. None of that happened. So we're not going to come out of the fall with these individual rankings. And I think, in conversations with especially our top guys, they've said like, I actually really don't care about my individual goals this semester. This uncertainty is just like really made me focus on what's the most important, and that's the team's success. So that's been fantastic. As you mentioned, like there's still a lot of uncertainty. What is our team schedule going to look like? And the goal, I think, has to be we need to be ready for whatever. So we're planning for the best case scenario of a full season. Starting, our season starts January 16th with the Western Michigan Broncos. So, we're planning to do that, to be ready to roll January 16th through May when we have the NCAA. Prepared for anything, right? Prepared to adjust. And I think if we can do that, we're going to be successful.
And I really like that for a number of reasons. But the main reason I like that is because you're preparing for the best case scenario, right? As well as, I mean, by preparing, in my opinion, for the best case, you'll be prepared for the worst case scenario as well.
Of course, yeah.
I think it's very big for players to say, hey, I'm not necessarily worried about individual results. Like, let's focus on the team. Let's see what the team can do. And I mean, I think that's the right way, in my opinion, to approach it, especially given so much uncertainty, and I reference Toledo a lot, but I mean, I think of their team. It's like we could play, 6 conference matches, or we could play 26 matches. Like it's a wide spectrum of matches that could potentially be played. And a big problem that our team has had is, just getting guys back, because,
Mhm.
travel restrictions and things like that. So I think there's definitely some also empathy too, and some understanding, which it's good to see from college athletes. Like with uncertainty, I feel as though a lot of athletes are kind of like, okay, they're going to roll with the punches and go with the flow, and I'm not going to be too high or too low.
Mhm.
We'll see what happens. But I mean, to get people to still train and train hard during this time, and be with, their team, which is their family, away from their
Mhm.
family, is something special in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the beauty of sport, right? Is that no matter what's going on in the world, we're so fortunate to have this thing where we can come and just like focus on this common goal for 2-3 hours a day and have fun and yeah, like you said, be a family and build toward this common goal and be excited about that. So I feel really fortunate to be in tennis during this time, and I know our guys do as well, to have that time every day in an uncertain world where we can focus and just be you know excited and hardworking.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. Sports kind of really is the one thing, and the connectivity piece that really
Yeah.
brings us all together, right? It doesn't matter where you're
Mhm.
from or what you did. It's like, do you like Notre Dame? Yeah. Well, we're on the same team. It doesn't matter if put everything else aside,
Right.
right? Put
Right.
backgrounds and everything else. Like, we want them to win. Let's go cheer, and let's go cheer hard for them. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing I'm looking forward to when tennis is just back in general. I mean, it was
Hmm.
nice to see, some pro tournaments back and things like that. But
Right.
when the
Right.
college landscape kicks back up in full swing, it'll be exciting to see. It'll be exciting to follow.
Absolutely. And it's been exciting to follow a lot of the junior stuff. A lot of junior tournaments have gone back off the ground and are happening, and credit to those tournament directors for I imagine that's quite a undertaking to have these kids follow these protocols, and that's great. That's great for the game that we're able to go out and compete and have that fun in an uncertain world. And that's what we need. That's what we need to keep doing for the game, is keep the excitement about tennis going.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Well, my friend, not only has this been great, it has been a pleasure, a true pleasure. The thing I'll say as we end, where do I find or follow Notre Dame men's tennis? Is there handles? Is there Twitter? Is it just at Notre Dame's men's tennis? I like to always put those in my video.
Absolutely. Yeah. At ND Men's Tennis is our Twitter and Instagram handles. And then, Facebook, just Notre Dame Men's Tennis will bring us up. But yeah, please go check us out and support the Irish.
I like it. I like it. And I'm looking for a big year. And I'll ask for autographs once that happens from you. All right.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I really appreciate the time. We'll talk soon, man. All the best.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, Chris.